The mornings always started the same way. The soft echo of footsteps, the distant bell of the old school, and a lone figure sitting by the rusted green gate. Rain, sun, or wind, the German shepherd was there, always there. No collar, no name tag, just eyes, deep, amber, and tired, fixed on the road as if waiting for someone who had simply forgotten to come back. Children passed him every morning. Some whispered, some tossed him bits of bread. A few teachers tried to chase him away, but he'd always return before the first bell, settling into the same patch of cracked concrete as if drawn by something stronger than instinct. There was a sadness about him, not wild or angry, but patient, aching. His fur had lost its shine, and his ribs pressed faintly against his sides, yet his posture never faltered. Each time the school doors opened, his ears perked up. Each time the last child left, his eyes dimmed. Nobody knew his story. Some said he once belonged to a boy who went to this very school, a boy who never came back. Others thought he'd been abandoned and had chosen the gate because it was the last place he'd felt kindness. Then one morning, a teacher named Lena noticed something the others hadn't. The dog's gaze wasn't random. He was watching a single classroom window. Always the same one. Every day. The next time she stepped outside during recess, she called softly, "Hey, boy." He didn't move, not even an inch, but his tail twitched, once, as if the sound of kindness had brushed against a memory he'd buried long ago. That moment stayed with her, and the next morning she brought a bowl of water. Then food. Then patience. Days turned into weeks. The dog began to trust her slightly. He let her sit closer, though never touch him. Yet something about the way he looked at that classroom window told her this wasn't just loyalty. It was loss. Until one cold autumn afternoon, a young boy passing by stopped and froze. His face went pale. He whispered to his mother, "Mom, that's Dad's dog." The crowd went silent, because for the first time, the story wasn't about a stray waiting at a gate. It was about love that refused to die, even when everything else did. And Lena knew in that instant, she wasn't just feeding a hungry dog. She was standing at the edge of a story, one written in loyalty, heartbreak, and memory. A story that had been waiting too.
Every morning, before the first school bell echoed, the German shepherd took his place beside the faded iron gate. The concrete beneath him was cracked and cool, carrying the scent of rain and chalk dust. Students would walk past, loud, laughing, alive, and the dog would watch them all with quiet eyes, searching every face, every small backpack, for one that never appeared. He'd been there so long that even the stray cats avoided his spot. The janitor sometimes left scraps from breakfast, and the older children whispered stories about him, that he once belonged to a boy who went missing, or that he waited for a teacher who promised to return. But no one really knew. Lena, a literature teacher new to the school, noticed him on her first week. He wasn't just there. He was present, focused on something beyond the world's noise. There was intelligence in his stillness, a kind of grief that didn't need words. One morning, as rain began to fall, Lena stood under the awning, watching. The shepherd didn't move from his place. Water rolled down his fur, his ears flicking against the drops, but he didn't seek shelter. Something about that broke her. She took her umbrella and stepped out, slow, cautious. When she reached him, she lowered the umbrella over his head. For the first time, he turned his eyes to her. They weren't wild, just tired. "Hey," she whispered, "you don't have to do this alone." He blinked once, as if her voice reached a buried place inside him, but when she held out her hand, he took a small step back. Trust, she realized, wasn't built in a day. It was built in quiet, in the patience of rain. By the time the bell rang, she'd left him a sandwich half and walked back to class, soaked but smiling. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about him, the way he'd looked at her, not like a stranger, but like someone waiting to be remembered. And something told her, tomorrow she'd go back.
By the second week, Lena learned his rhythms. He arrived before dawn, curled up beside the gate, and left only when the last student disappeared. Sometimes she'd find his paw prints leading toward the nearby park, as though he wandered the edges of memory and came back when the world grew too quiet. She brought him breakfast now: boiled chicken, soft bread, clean water. Slowly, he began to trust the space between them. He wouldn't eat if she stood too close, but he'd no longer run. It was progress, fragile as mist, but real. Then, one day, a student named Eli came to her desk. "Miss Lena," he said softly, "my dad told me that dog's been here for months. He says he used to belong to a boy from our school, before the accident." The room went still. Lena's heart sank. "What accident?" she asked. Eli hesitated. "A car crash, 3 years ago. The boy's name was Adam. They say the dog was with him. He survived." That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She searched old news archives until she found it: a photo of a smiling boy holding a young German shepherd. The caption read, "Local student remembered after tragic accident." The dog in the photo had the same amber eyes, the same scar near his ear. Lena's hands trembled. He wasn't just waiting for anyone. He was waiting for Adam. The next morning, when she arrived early, she whispered, "You're still waiting for him, aren't you?" The shepherd lifted his head. The bell hadn't rung yet, and the first rays of light hit his fur like gold. For a heartbeat, Lena imagined he understood every word. And when she whispered Adam's name, the dog's ears perked, his eyes widened. It was as if for the first time someone had spoken his world aloud again. Lena began coming earlier, sitting near the gate with her coffee. The shepherd, she called him Shadow now, would lie a few feet away, never closer, but always facing her. Each morning she'd tell him about her day, her students, her life. One morning, a small girl dropped her lunchbox near him. He didn't flinch, didn't bark. He just looked up, tail twitching once before laying his head back down. The children began to see him differently, not as a stray, but as something sacred. Then came the storm. Thunder split the morning sky. The bell clanged violently in the wind, and in that moment, something broke inside him. Shadow bolted, panicked, desperate, running across the yard toward the road. Lena chased after him, shouting his name over the wind. When she found him, he was trembling under a bench, eyes wide, breath sharp. She knelt beside him, soaking wet. "It's okay," she whispered, her hand hovering near his fur. "It's not the same. You're safe." He didn't move for a long time. Then, with a slow, uncertain motion, he rested his head against her knee. The bell still rang in the distance, sharp, haunting, but this time he didn't run.
After that day, things changed. Shadow began following her halfway to the parking lot, tail wagging faintly when she spoke his name. The other teachers noticed too. One afternoon, Lena stayed late grading papers when a janitor rushed in, panicked. "Miss Lena, it's the dog. He collapsed." She dropped everything and ran outside. Shadow lay near the gate, his body still, breathing shallow. At the vet, the doctor's voice was grave. Severe dehydration, malnutrition. He has been surviving on memory more than food. Lena sat beside the table, stroking his paw gently. "You're not alone anymore," she whispered. Through the night, she hummed softly, the same tune her mother used to sing to calm strays. Slowly, Shadow stirred. His eyes fluttered open, glassy but alive. A faint thump, his tail, echoed against the metal. The vet smiled. "He's fighting." Tears blurred Lena's vision. "Good boy," she whispered. "You held on long enough to be found." Outside, dawn broke golden across the clinic window. For the first time, Shadow's eyes followed the light, not the gate.
Weeks passed. Shadow recovered, his fur gaining back its glow, his body stronger. Lena brought him back to the school one morning. The students gasped and cheered. He trotted beside her confidently now, pausing by the same gate, not to wait, but to remember. When the bell rang, he didn't flinch. He looked up at Lena, tail wagging slowly, as if saying goodbye to the sound that once haunted him. She smiled through her tears. "You did it," she whispered. "You finally came home." That afternoon, a boy's mother, Adam's mother, came to meet them. When she saw Shadow, she pressed her hands to her mouth and fell to her knees. He ran to her without hesitation. She held his face in trembling hands, whispering, "You waited for him all this time." Shadow leaned in, eyes closing, his whole body sinking into her arms. Lena turned away, tears falling freely. Some stories don't end where we expect. Some just find new meanings for the same love. And when the final bell rang that day, Shadow didn't wait at the gate anymore. He walked beside them, where he always belonged.